think my husband's mistress thinks he is richer than he actually is. My best friend thinks I'm a douche because I'm keeping silent. Plus update. Original post. Husband in quotes because we are not married legally. He's 39, me 39, mistress 29, and best friend 39. We have been together for 14 years, living together for 11. He came and told me that he was in love about 3 weeks ago. I was surprised at the lack of care I had to give at receiving such information. I did love him, but maybe my love has always been conditional, and its survival depends on it being reciprocated, because it literally vanished the second he confessed to me that he was in love with another woman. He didn't want the separation, but to maybe open the relationship, or let his feelings for her subside. But I said it was over. It was like I never had feelings for him ever. He was taken aback by my indifference, which I thought, the audacity. Did he want me to be hurt and suffer? I told him that he should be relieved that he didn't cause pain. Instead, he has been sulking since. Last Friday I got home and mistress was there, sitting in my kitchen sipping my tea. I felt nauseous because, seriously? I told him that this wasn't civil at all, and to never be in my home again or I would call the cops. I went to my room and I heard her yelling at him for not standing up for her. Then I heard her say something very curious. Why haven't you kicked her out yet? He was trying to tell her to lower her voice, whispering, "Later, we can discuss this later." She left and he came to me apologizing. He said, "We didn't have sex here if this is what you are scared of. She just dropped by because I was working from home today." I told him that he had until the end of March to move out and to find somewhere to be during the weekends. This morning, I changed all the locks. From now on, he isn't allowed in my place during my working hours. So if he starts later or finishes earlier, he needs to wait for me to come home and let him in. But his mistress words stuck with me. So during the weekend, I have been stalking her social media. I think she thinks that he is rich, or at least that he owns my apartment. I think she also thinks that my parents' summer house and boat are his. Unfortunately, the loser has taken her there, probably bragging about his wealth, because her hashtags were all about the good life. I was telling my best friend all of this, but she was more agitated than indignant on my behalf. She told me that he was a scum, not telling his mistress the truth. I agreed. I know, right? But then she said I was no better not explaining to her his situation either. I was dumbfounded, but she was serious. I told her that it wasn't my job to bring back mistress to earth, and my best friend got very angry and demanded that I gave her mistress's username so that she could warn her. "No," I said, and she called me a bigger douche than he is then. I don't know what's going on with these people. Have they gone mad, or have I? When did our moral compass go askew like this? Can someone tell me that I am not insane? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Nope, not wrong. Get rid of him and wash your hands. Your bestie sounds delusional. Phew, because I thought something was wrong with me when she got upset. OP, she just demanded that your ex kick you out of your home so that she can move in. Do you really think someone like that deserves the kindness of a heads up? Not to mention she has been drinking your ex's Kool-Aid for a while now and wouldn't believe anything you say anyway, so why waste your time? As for your friend, they are either a current/former mistress, a gold digger, living in the land of sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns, or were never really a friend to you in the first place. When my ex-husband and I had finally decided to divorce, he came to me to ask if I could clear out of the apartment for the weekend so he could have a friend over. I snapped like a tree branch after an ice storm. I said to him, "You want me to clear out of the apartment that I alone pay the rents and bills for so you can have your girlfriend over? You've got balls, I'll give you that." And no, it's not freaking happening. It was the first time he'd seen me genuinely angry and the only time I ever saw him cowed by anything or anyone. Now I regret not having stood up for myself sooner. But what's done is done. OP, kick his butt out of your life. Let him fend for himself, and I suspect he's got a very rude awakening in store. Wow, it is so satisfying to read her response to that. Good for you for standing up. Absolutely. That moment of realization when you know you've had enough and you stand your ground is priceless. It's like suddenly all the nonsense comes into focus, and you're not going to take it anymore. The shock on their faces when they realize the rules have changed is something else. It's good you found your breaking point and put down your foot. Too many stories where that doesn't happen soon enough. Cheers to newfound freedom and self-respect. Lol, you're not responsible for his lies. Kick him out and leave it. He has until the end of March. You also need better friends. What the heck is wrong with you not giving the mistress a heads up? To me, this is a clear case of a fool-arounded find out. I have a feeling friend has been in mistress's shoes. Lol. Exactly what I was going to say. I'd keep her at an arm's distance. She's too understanding of a homewrecker. Some homewreckers don't know what they are getting themselves into. Don't know the guy is in a relationship or have been fed lies about the nature of the relationship. But the friend is concerned that the woman is getting into a relationship for money with someone who doesn't have any? Those priorities are pretty suspect. Now for the update. I did it. I had a showdown with my former best friend via text, and I confronted her about her non-existent support when I went to her with my woes. I told her that she concentrated on the wrong issue. She should have been my shoulder to cry on. She should have shown up with wine, ice cream, and a shovel. But instead, she called me a bigger douche than my husband. She tried to gaslight me, and I realized that she's always been a good gaslighter, so I interrupted her before she made me out to be the villain. I asked her bluntly, was your husband married when you started sleeping together? You told us that he was married before. We all knew that, but we were all under the impression that he was married and divorced before you two met. But was he still married? Is that why you related to the mistress and felt sympathy for her? Because you were her? She didn't answer me until next day to call me a bitter and jealous bitch. Wow. This was the last one-on-one interaction with her, I have decided. She's been my friend since preschool, but now we need to go our separate ways. Not only to save us from future hurt, but also to save our memories together from hurt. I talked to my husband too, and asked him to not make the separation difficult and bitter that it ruins all the happiness we felt being together, because we cannot think back on 1/3 of our lives with resentment. I asked him to take my dad's offer. He offered to help him find a lease on an apartment and pay half a year's rent if he moved out without giving me problems. When I got home, he and his clothes were gone. He left an apology letter saying that he will always love me and never meant to hurt me. So I have finally been able to cry my eyes out, and it felt so good. I've been crying since I got home. I lost 2 of my closest people, but this is what happens when we hit hardships. We see people's true faces. This is my update. I don't know if anything major will happen to make more updates. It is time for me to move on. Wow, OB, good for you. Your friend is definitely not worth your time, and your soon-to-be ex should be thanking his lucky stars that you are so kind. You've said it quite succinctly. OP is actually kind-hearted to help the cheater out. Much better reaction than I would have had. And I'm happy that she called out her ex-friend's BS. Projecting much, eh? Just like the comments under her previous post said. She was truly something else, that one. OP, good to cry it out. But hopefully there are better things around the corner for you. Good luck. It is not out of kind-heartedness. I can't just kick the man out without a fight or a bribe. If I had started eviction proceedings, I would need at least 6 months to do so, and I didn't want him in my life for this long. So I'm bribing him. Housing is very scarce, and primary lease is almost impossible. My dad has connections with landlords, so he agreed to move out. He is living with his parents now until he gets his contract. I'm happy it didn't get more complicated. This was what my lawyer advised me to do, because taking the eviction route would have made it drag for months. I feel for Opie. How gutting to find out 2 people so close to you are such dirtbags. I hope we get an update where the mistress finds out. Amen. Reminds me of a post I saw yesterday. Girl's friend had phone sex with a married man and didn't see the problem with it. There are 2 types of affair partners, those that know and those that don't. The latter is whatever, but the former are hell to a man. He left an apology letter saying that he will always love me and never meant to hurt me. Sure was acting like a man who didn't want to hurt her. It looks a lot like he just wanted her to notice him, and went about it with the logic of a 5-year-old. Instead of having a mature conversation and talking about how he felt, he figured having an affair should work. The whole thing is written with such a lack of interest, and the offhand comment about her having her own room, that it sounds like the marriage was dead for a long time. The ex just made it official by being a douche. It all sounds to me like she's not responsible for how much of a prick the ex was, but had a hand in getting to that place. I really don't think she deserved that treatment, but I feel like there is more to the story. The BFF is just bizarre though. It's like she was having an argument about something completely different, while the OP was suffering. Last story. I left my wife and it took her over a week to notice. I, male 35, was married to my wife, female 35, for 8 years. I left her 5 years ago. We are child-free by choice. Her choice. I'd always said we had a good relationship and marriage. but looking back, I see that it was good for her. Here is my story. I've always been the nerdy type. Smart, good grades, but never popular. I am from a very well-off family. Due to my grandparents' inheritance and some smart investments my parents did, I did not have to go to college or work and still have a comfortable life. But I love what I did. I met my wife my first year in college. She was in my class and was looking for a tutor. She was a scholarship kid. We spent more and more time together, but never in the weekend. I wasn't the outgoing type, and she would still go out in the weekend. After a while, we started going on dates, and after I graduated, we got married. Looking back, she started making decisions for us as soon as we got together. My wife worked the first half of our marriage, and when her company downsized, she got laid off. She became a stay-at-home wife who was not at home that much. She had friends she took trips with, had a lot of lunches and dinners with her friends, basically spent my money on her well-off lifestyle. While I remember our love life being passionate in the beginning, it's just that, a memory. When I was 29, I was involved in a car crash. They say a drunk driver totaled my car, but I still have no memory of that day. I was in coma for 2 weeks. After waking up, I had to learn to do a lot again. After 4 months, I went back to work. When I came back home, my wife put me in the spare room. She said it has been like that a while because I was snoring. I kept my mouth shut, but I knew that this was new. The accident somehow gave me clarity of my mind. I could see that a marriage has been over for a while, but I still wanted to see if I could save it. Everything I tried failed. What sealed the deal for me was my 30th birthday. I came home and she was not home. She was having a spa day with her friends. I ordered takeout, watched a movie, and made a decision. The next morning, I went to my lawyer to start drafting divorce papers. I stopped engaging with her unless absolutely necessary. Slowly, I started selling anything that had any emotional value to me. I left all her stuff for her. I bought a new car and left it at a parking garage not so far from our home. 1 month later, all I had left were my clothes and a couple of laptops, projector, portable screen. Everything I needed to work from the road. I did not quit my job. I arranged for it to be completely remote. 2 months after my birthday, I stayed while my wife was at just another lunch with her girls. I took the new car, packed everything I needed in it, left the divorce papers and a letter on my bed in the spare room, and closed the door to my house for the last time, wondering how long it would take for her to notice. I decided to drive across the country and visit every place I wanted to go but couldn't because my wife didn't want to. We had a prenup, so she had no rights to ask anything. In a letter, I explained. I told her I was leaving, and I would leave her the house and a car and would pay a sum every month for exactly a year. After that, she was on her own. In my own stupidity, I forgot to mention why I was leaving, but this would work out in my favor. 10 days after I left, I got a text from my wife asking me where I was and if this was a joke. She called me, but I didn't pick up. I never pick up the phone while driving. I had an automated text sent that said, "I'm driving and will call back later." She sends me text after text after text. That night, I stopped in a motel and decided to read a text before calling her back. First, she was asking if this was a joke, then asking when I will come back, then begging me to come back, not knowing why I left. And then she said something. She was sorry and it didn't mean anything and that she will cut him off. She was having an affair, something I never suspected. I called her cell phone and she was at her parents'. I learned this tactic from TV. She started yelling at me and I hung up. I waited 1 minute and called back. She started yelling again and I hung up again. I waited 2 minutes and called back again. This time, she wasn't yelling and I started talking. I told her that she was going to let me talk first, and after I said what I needed to say, and then she could ask questions. I told her why I left. We were married but living like roommates. Not even roommates, because they at least acknowledge each other. I don't remember the last time we had a conversation, the last time we did something together. I don't remember the last time we've been intimate, but I know it was before the accident. I told her that for a month before leaving, I stopped talking and sold everything I had in the house, and she didn't even notice. That it took her 10 days after I left before she noticed I was gone. If she had called me on the day I left, I would have turned around immediately. I ended with, "Thank you for admitting to the affair. I really didn't know about that." She tried to apologize, and when she asked me to come back, I asked her why. If she could explain to me why I would consider it. What was in it for me? What would change? She couldn't answer. So I said goodbye and told her my lawyer knows how to contact me. Then I blocked her. The next day, I bought a new phone with a new number and left the old one in the motel. 2 weeks later, I got an email from my lawyer that the divorce papers were signed. I was free. I kept my word. My lawyer already had all documents signed by me that would transfer ownership of the house and the cars to her. The bank automatically deposits a fixed amount to our shared account every month for a year. Where we are now. For the past 5 years, I have been driving across the country, working remotely. I finally had a reason to start social media. I posted online where I've been and where I'm going. I stay in a place for a couple of weeks and drive to the next. My ex-wife started following me on Instagram a year after I left, and out of curiosity, I looked at her public posts. I'm not planning on following her back. She posted pictures with her boyfriend soon after I left. To her credit, she did not badmouth me, at least not on Instagram. 2 months after I left, they apparently broke up. That was the last time I really had an update of her. I also have a life now. Once I put myself out there, it turned out to be easier to have casual hookups. No committed relationship. Now, after years, I'm going back to my hometown. There is a reunion I want to attend. I'm staying for a month, maybe 2, and then I'm going to Canada. I have no plans of looking up my ex, but I will also not actively avoid her. If I see her, I'll see her. If I don't, I don't. Crazy story. This is a happy way for getting back on your own legs. Don't even meet her. She is selfish and horrible. Don't waste your time with her. She's a gold digger. Good story. You realized something was wrong and decided to leave your wife. That was smart. But I think that before the accident, she had her adventures. After the accident, when she decided to have you move into the guest room, she didn't want to be unfaithful to her lover with you. Why did you leave her your house? As someone that recently got out of an abusive marriage, you have no idea how much more mental anguish and loss of physical time and energy I would have had to endure if I tried fighting for anything extra for my ex-wife. What I would have to go through to get the apartment and a car was not worth the stress and anxiety and fear of her retaliating. Simply walking away and starting over from nothing was so much better for me. And I'm sure OP felt the same, though he at least had more backing to start off with than I did.